In theaters now, Spencer, a film about Princess Diana. Princess Diana, maiden name Spencer, thus the titular Spencer. Kristen Stewart stars as Spencer, and this takes place over a long weekend, a Christmas weekend, when the royal family was gathering at the palatial family estate, as they traditionally would, to celebrate Christmas in that weekend or week. And apparently this was set, this is something the film doesn't tell you. This was set during that last Christmas that Charles and Diana were together before she requested a divorce. He had been having an affair for many years with the woman he would ultimately be with, and was not being very discreet about it, and she was really coming apart at the seams. What I will say about Spencer is that, and basically that's what the film is. It takes place over a short period of time. It focuses on Diana and her struggling with bulimia and suicidal tendencies and hallucination and deep misery and unhappiness. It doesn't give you that context, though. The film just opens with her driving to this estate and being very depressed. And if you don't know anything about Princess Diana beyond who she was, if you don't know what was going on at that time, if you haven't read anything or watched other series or documentaries or were following her, it really just feels like somebody who is very, very reluctant to eating dinner on time and wearing certain clothes. No disrespect to Diana, Prince of Wales, or the royal family, or anybody who cares about them, but me going in, remembering her, living through that era, and knowing in vague terms about how things all played out, I didn't get it. Why is she so upset? Clearly she's upset. Clearly she's having a hard time and dealing with mental illness or just extreme depression. But why? As somebody, again, devil's advocate, watching this movie blind, just walking in off the street and having this movie presented to me, a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction is, wow, it's really terrible to have the best food in the world in a palace and the best clothes and everybody serving you all the time. And, oh, it's terrible that you have to eat at 5:35. There was more to it going on, as was explained to me after, that I read about after, but the film doesn't give you it. The film itself doesn't give you any of that. Kristen Stewart is outstanding in this film. Everybody in this is outstanding. You have Timothy Spall, you have Sean Harris, you have many other people you will recognize. Relatively small cast, but people you would recognize. But you're not given any context. And for many, that might be okay. You just take it as read that she's unhappy. But me watching it, I'm like, what's as the movie goes along, some of the issues are explained, but it doesn't. I wish there would have been something at the front of this, or a little bit more dialogue to clue ignorant me in as to why she was so unhappy and behaving the way she was. Other than that, the film is gorgeous, really good performances, well shot, well executed, but I lost interest in it partway through, because for me it was just somebody who's insanely mopey but gives no real reason for it. In the context of the film, I have to keep saying that, because we had a discussion about this movie after I saw it, and I kept coming back to, yes, but the movie doesn't tell me that. And generally, I'm not a fan of being told after I watch something that I needed to do homework before I saw something. So let me say that if you are well versed in Princess Diana and her life, this will probably mean a lot more to you than it did to me. I could appreciate the acting and the craftsmanship in creating the film, but the story didn't do much for me. I did look up after the fact, my favorite site whenever I see a film that's a biopic or historical drama or something, History versus Hollywood, and they did say this was all made up. Like some of this was recounted in a book that came out where she gave a very extensive interview about how she felt at the time, but a lot of what goes on in this film is all just is drama, fantasy, supposition, whatever you want to call it. So sometimes I get a little bit touchy when it's an era that I lived through or historical figure that I'm somewhat aware of, and it's just not based on fact. It's just all fantasy, which is what this is. They say at the beginning of the film, this is, you know, a fantasy based on a real tragedy. So your mileage may vary. Again, Kristen Stewart, really, really good in this film. Very well made. Ultimately, it left me very, very cold. I think this is one that may be a little harder to see in the theater. Once this hits video, it'll be everywhere, but it's a more limited art house release right now. But currently, as I record this, in theaters, Spencer.